There are over 3,000 different silicones in Wacker's product portfolio, including products for construction, energy and electronics, coatings, textiles, medical technology, and the automotive industry. Elastic silicone moldings are used in the plastics industry and many other sectors. The silicone success story continues. Silicones are truly versatile products, and Wacker is not about to run out of ideas for new applications anytime soon.
Hello again, everyone. I'm Joe Pryweller, Conference Director for Rubber and Plastics News. I want to welcome you to Rubber and Plastics News Ask the Experts series at the International Silicone Conference. This live stream series is your opportunity to engage with professionals on the current business environment and to interact with questions. Today's Ask the Expert is hosted by Wacker. Our speaker is Norm Riley, Technical Manager for Healthcare and Rubber Fabricators with Wacker. Norm will discuss application-specific products and technologies for liquid silicone rubber and some of the attributes of specialty LSRs. This Ask the Expert session will be followed by live Q&A. To submit a question, email rpnevents@crane.com, or if you're watching along on Rubber and Plastics News LinkedIn, Facebook, or YouTube sites, submit your questions through those platforms. With that, I will turn things over to Norm Riley of Wacker. Norm, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Joe. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. I want to talk a little bit about liquid silicone rubber today. So specialty products here, where we find that some of the conventional LSR products just don't quite measure up to a particular application that we might have. And the application is going to ask the liquid silicone rubber to extend its performance envelope just a little bit more. So in order to do that, we often find a way to modify to fit the actual application. Next slide, please. Now, the result is typically a specialty grade silicone rubber. The specialty materials, they do two things very well. Often there might be a compromise. Some may even be a one-trick pony. But we find that the specialized silicone rubber excels at its intended purpose. So I'd like to visit today some of the specialty grade LSRs that Wacker operates to meet some performance challenges. All right. Next slide, please. The Lumisol branded LSR is a water white, clear material designed for injection molded parts, but its intended application is for LED lenses, diffusers, and displays. Despite having a very low viscosity of around 20,000 centipoise, it is suitable for injection molding with no fear of flashing out your molds. The product is designed to be non-yellowing at high temperatures. Light transmission is very high at 90% over a broad spectrum. We're talking 260 nanometers up to 800 nanometers. It is stable at very high temperatures, as LEDs are often required to perform at 350 degrees Fahrenheit on a continuous basis. So this Lumisol branded materials, they resist embrittlement and continue to perform as designed. Anticipating that there may be some interest for incorporation of technologies for medical and healthcare, Wacker has gone and done certifications for USP Class 6 and ISO 10993. All right, next slide, please. Low coefficient of friction LSRs offer a different tactile feel, meaning that they are drier, less tacky to the touch, but yet provide a lubricious feel to the surface in order to aid assemblies. This is definitely a better alternative to some of the oil bleeding versions that have been used for decades. So this relieves you of any type of liabilities that might be created by oil lying on the surface. The hardness range is pretty limited compared to a conventional LSR, covering only the range of 30 to 80. It is available in technical, food, and medical grades, and we hope to continue down that way. Now, improved haptics means that it has an improved touch, a better feel to it. Does not have the slippery, oily feel to it. This is especially a benefit when you have a lot of touch points or parts and pieces that need to be handled on a regular basis. There's no post-cure required in order to achieve this type of feel. It feels this way right out of the mold. There's no time period to wait for any sort of bleed or anything to come to the surface. The low coefficient of friction technology is one of the few that we can actually combine with other types of technologies that Wacker offers, with two of them being one with a low volatile content and secondly, self-adhesive. All right, next slide, please. Okay, speaking of self-adhesive, self-adhesive LSRs for thermoplastic, Wacker offers 4 series of products that are designed to participate in the 2-shot overmolding process with thermoplastics. The Elastosil LR3070 series leads the way with industrial general purpose type applications. The LR3071 series it caters to the market segments that have a few more constraints based on regulatory, food safety, for example, here. So this is the product that you need to consider when you're looking at any sort of 21 CFR requirements. All right. The Elastosil LR3675 is an industrial grade. Again, here it combines the low COF with the self-adhesive for the thermoplastics. And alternatively, if you have greater needs, more restrictions that apply to healthcare, we have that same combination, the low COF and the self-adhesive that does carry the USP and ISO certification for healthcare and medical. All right. Next slide, please. The Elastosil LR3162 is a highly conductive LSR. It is available in only one hardness, 50 Shore A. Its conductivity is measured through volume resistivity at 9 ohm centimeters. It is designed for injection molding of parts and pieces. However, it has not been tested for anything medical related or for skin contact. We have seen those taking this product under consideration and through additional testing relative to the purpose of the final device have been able to gain approval. All right, next slide, please. All right. The SOPRAN medical grade is your fully documented product for those more demanding medical and healthcare applications. This series of products is manufactured through clean room protocols. It has dedicated mixing equipment, also has a dedicated clean filtration and packaging for this product. And it is tested for cytotoxicity from a batch-to-batch basis and does carry the full documentation for the ISO 10993 and USP Class 6. All right, next slide, please. I wanted to cover kind of a generic slide here for LSRs in general, just to illustrate the bandwidth of silicone regarding regulatory compliance. We see we have food contact here, we have healthcare, medical, drinking water standards, and some of the other regulatory things that are coming up, the ROHS, SVHC, and REACH registrations. There are many standard products, conventional products that actually meet nearly all of these simultaneously. But we do strive to meet as many as we can, even as the products approach a more specialty in nature. All right, next slide, please. All right, we're going to talk a little bit about an emerging technology that we're kind of excited about here. We have We have some applications where maybe we're not exactly able to meet all requirements, and have a particular product of interest here to share. All right, next slide, please. All right. Self-adhesive LSR for polycarbonate. Much of our technology that existed prior was not reliable or predictable when trying to overmold to polycarbonate. Wacker will introduce here later in the year Elastosil LR3078. It is a fast cure LSR. It will be made here in the US, and this is to help provide faster delivery and any sort of shelf life issues. But it is designed for the dedicated two-shot process here for primerless adhesion to polycarbonate. The unique thing about this product is that it does not carry technology that uses BPA derivatives as its adhesion mechanism. BPA had come into some visibility in the marketplace saying, nope, don't want that, can't do that. So Wacker's technology does address that by leaving the BPA derived products out. Ultimately, this product will carry both USP and ISO test certifications here, but immediately to start out, there'll probably be more technical and food grades more readily available. And finally, in order to achieve the adhesion, there is no post-cure necessary. It develops all of its adhesion in the mold, and there is no necessary post-process thermal treatment to increase adhesion to the substrate. All right, next, please. So that brings me to the end of my presentation here. So we are in a point where we can open the floor for some questions. Be happy to answer.
Thank you, Norm. Terrific presentation, and looks like you're broadening your family a little bit of LSR products at the same time. Terrific. We're now able to take questions. You can email your questions into us at rpnevents@crane.com, and you'll see that scrolling on the bottom of your screen. Or if you're watching along on our LinkedIn, YouTube, or Facebook platforms, you can ask your questions through those sites. Here's the first question I want to ask you, Norm. What's the difference between FDA food contact and NSF registered for food contact? Is there a difference, and how do you quantify that?
Yes, there is a difference. Oh, I'm getting an echo. There is a difference, but even though often they are used interchangeably, NSF, they define the rules for food sanitation, and this applies mostly to food service, food processing, to where they set the rules as to how easy things are to be cleaned, how they should be cleaned, and this also includes all materials that will ultimately contact that surface. The FDA, they set rules according to where these materials can be used, based on more on a compositional level of the material. So the FDA requirements often involve things like extractions to make sure that the product itself is safe. It will not find its way into the food. So an FDA compliant product will most often have been exposed to an extraction over a number of different media, and compared to the FDA standard for food contact safety.
Terrific. Well, we have a few questions that have come in. The first one is from a YouTube platform. Are any of the low COF, coefficient of friction materials, available with optically clear properties?
I do not believe we are there yet. But no, currently Wacker is not offering that combination of technologies.
Is that something you think the industry is going to be coming? Is it still a bit of a ways off?
This is something that certainly can be explored. and it might be a very good suggestion for some additional work.
Excellent. Well, people can contact you separately if they want to talk more about it, I suppose, too.
Absolutely.
Next question was emailed to us. Any polycarbonate surface preparation required for bonding LR3078?
No. It's best to use it as processed, I guess we would say. We find that there's really no advantage to preparing any further, such as solvent cleaning or anything. So at this point, I am going to say that no, there is no surface preparation necessary to establish adhesion.
Great. Can you elaborate a little more with LR3078? What are some of the applications you're seeing for it? Where in the past you might not have been able to use this with polycarbonate, but now we're able to.
Yeah. The applications are pretty specific, but a lot of it is gaskets and seals on polycarbonate covers, we'll say, things that have to seal large areas. So it's important that while the gaskets are under compression, that the integrity of the adhesion remains in place. So these are things that we've been looking at, some things that we actually had to forego until now, to where we do have the technology and the means to demonstrate.
Terrific. Another question emailed to us. What's the cycle time and temperature recommended for bonding LR3078 to polycarbonate? If you can quantify it all.
Yeah. Well, we have experts for that, and honestly, I don't have a good solid answer for that one. I'd hate to misquote, so we might have to come back to that one.
Excellent. Well, again, at the end of the presentation, Norm's email address will be on the screen if you want to reach out for more there. But please keep asking your questions via email or LinkedIn, Facebook, or YouTube. We'll be glad to answer them. Another follow-up on the earlier question on optically clear, low COF combination. If you were to combine the two, what would be the result of the overall clarity in terms of light transmission? Or does that even can you even do that?
This would be part of our investigation. Even though there would be really no conflict from a refractive index standpoint, the light transmission is just a little more tricky. It may change the spectrum, meaning that the range of the spectrum for the maximum light transmission may change. It may be confined to a much more narrow portion of the spectrum.
Great. Norm, can self-adhesive LSR be used outside of the 2K injection molding process?
We're talking, this is self-adhesive we're talking?
Self-adhesive LSR, yeah.
Yes. I would say it depends.
Okay.
We have seen some evidence that select substrates will respond to the adhesion mechanism outside of the 2K molding process, but we have others that simply do not respond outside the process at all.
Okay, so it's application specific.
Yes,
pretty much.
correct. Yes.
Yeah, when you're looking at some of this anyway. Are there any issues with self-adhesive LSR in terms of sticking to the mold or bonding the mold at all when you're doing this?
No, we have not noticed any undue mold following or anything by use of the current self-adhesive technologies. Even the new 3078 does not show any tendencies to that. We have paid some close attention to that as it has been mentioned as a concern. So we've investigated that pretty thoroughly, and we think those concerns are minimal. Okay,
sounds good. Do the optical properties of Lumisol change with thickness, temperature, or wavelength?
Yes, they do. We do have that information. Should anybody be interested in anything specific, but it is a fact that these things do change over those when those parameters are changed.
Okay, good. But again, it depends on application and what app you're using it with, I guess.
Absolutely.
In other words, for that. With some of the new specialty grade Lumisols that you're talking about there, what specific LED or lighting areas are you think these are most useful for? In terms of end
varies.
uses or in terms of just specific type of materials
Yeah.
or usages for?
Mm-hmm. Obviously, the lighting industry, of course, is where the large focus for this particular technology is. The lighting industry is quite broad. There's so many different things that use lights. This low energy lighting now. LED light panels. Light tubes now to transfer light from one point to the other. So lighting is really where the opportunities centered for the Lumisol technology.
Great. And talking about the low COF technology you're using, can you elaborate a little more? It sounds like that this is something that can be used instead of having the oil bleeding that you talked about anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Primarily, where is this an issue, and what are you looking at with that anyway for the low coefficient of friction LSR?
Oil bleeding becomes problematic. Not only in healthcare where you don't want things bleeding out and transferring, but also when you're looking at food contact applications where you don't want any sort of bleed fluids migrating their way into food substance. Also in things such as personal electronic devices where things may go in pockets or be exposed to fabrics. That will absolutely, pull the any sort of bleed fluid from the silicone and be absorbed right into the textile. So, so when you have something like our CoF technology, it is non-migratable, so does not bleed itself. So it gives you much more flexibility in design. So where you can get that feel, you can take care of that, take advantage of that property, so that you ultimately don't have this bleed issue to worry about.
Yeah, I certainly wouldn't want my cell phone bleeding into my pocket. I don't think my textile. I think that would be that would be important. So yeah, that makes a lot of sense. You talked also about the medical grade LSRs that are the SOPRAN, if I'm pronouncing that correctly anyway.
Yep. Correct.
With that, with medical grade, why is this better for a clean room application or a specific application where you're looking for something that's not so sensitive, I guess, anyway, to outside influences?
Mm-hmm. The clean room, it comes more into by way of the packaging. Now, the packaging of the LSR, of course, uses clean room protocols in order to keep particulate matter from finding its way into the material.
Right.
So that way, as a customer receives it, it's free from particulates. Does not transfer any particulates, into the molded part or whatever they're constructing with the material. So beyond that, once the parts are molded, it's now up to the customer to try to protect those molded parts from the from dust and dirt or any other particulate that may land on the surface. And this is often controlled through controlling the environment. And we're not necessarily talking about HEPA filters and things, but just a way to keep things from the outside finding their way in. People are gowning up, or there might be even some very basic filters or air handling systems to address that.
So this protects the package better from those outside forces.
Correct.
With it, excellent. That makes some sense. I'm talking about the electrically conductive material.
Yes.
Do you think something is coming from medical with that too? You talked about some work is still being done in that area for medical applications.
Yeah, in the broader area, there are a lot of miniaturization, a lot of wearable type technologies, to where this is has potential to find a home. And depending on the level of technology, what its intended purpose is, could very well fall within the realm of a medical device, or at least
Sure.
a portion of the regulations that they fall under. So in order to anticipate any of that, it might be a good idea to consider that additional testing, would need to be done per the finished device.
Here's a question. Can you have a low CoF silicone with self-adhesion?
Yes, I did mention two particular series, the LR3675 for industrial and the SOPRAN 6700 that addresses the medical healthcare documentations.
Excellent. You also talked a little bit about regulatory issues or challenges in meeting some of those. Do you see any of those regulations changing at all, or being either more restrictive or less restrictive currently?
Yeah, the regulations regarding, let's say, medical, for example, are always under review, and they continue to evolve. Not so much, in major swings from one point to another, but slight. We'll talk about slight adjustments to cover gaps, and I think that's mostly what these regulations are looking for, is to make sure that these gaps are addressed.
Anything that affects LSR specifically recently, or is it more minor stuff that isn't quite so impactful?
Yeah, no, there's some longer running issues, that we run across, things like siloxane content, specifically D4, D5, D6. Many on the call will probably recognize these things as being a point of contention for specific countries. It hasn't reached quite that level here in the U.S. just yet, but there continues to be a number of inquiries about quantifying those particular components that are in nearly all silicones.
One more thing, Norm. I'm curious, within the age of COVID that we're in this year, has it changed at all in terms of applications for LSRs, uses of LSRs, or anything else? Have there been any difference because of the strange era that we're living in?
Yeah, it started out very strong. A lot of interest, and the thing is everything had to happen like now. There really wasn't much time to be given for exploration and looking for these opportunities. They just landed on our doorstep, and you grab what you can. So although it was strong in the beginning, I personally have not seen a huge flood of opportunities based on responses to COVID-19. But it's not to say they're not out there. But we do see it.
Certainly in medical, I would imagine, for one, and other areas. Yes. Anyway.
Right.
Excellent. Well, I want to ask you if you have any parting comments or final words you want to leave the audience with today.
Maybe just one. When you do have applications that LSR seems to fit real well, whether it's from a processing or performance standpoint, there are others, more specialized versions that could bring more value, rather than trying to force fit a conventional LSR. You consider some of these specialty grades here. You may invest a little more upfront, but in the end, it is often more value added than you might anticipate.
Super. With that, I want to again thank Norm Riley of Wacker and Wacker for sponsoring this Ask the Expert session today. If you have additional questions, please feel free to reach out directly to Norm, and his email address just popped up on the screen, so he'll be happy to talk you through some of the specialty uses of LSR or anything else. And I want to thank you for watching our Rubber and Plastics News Ask the Expert series at the International Silicone Conference. As a reminder, the conference continues this afternoon with sessions at 2 and 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time. with presentations by Toby Samples of ARDL discussing rudimentary tools to troubleshoot your product, and they'll give a case study of a silicone wiper blade test. And we'll wrap up the event at 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time today with Rick Ziebel of RD Abbott presenting on third stream additives that modify LSR and HCR. And don't forget to take advantage of the virtual event platform that enables all attendees, speakers, and sponsors to connect with each other. You can do this at any time today before the event ends. As a reminder, all conference sessions and Ask the Expert live streams will be available to registered attendees on rubbernews.com. Our website again is www.rubbernews.com. I'm Joe Pryweller with Rubber and Plastics News. Stay tuned for a word from our sponsor.
There are over 3,000 different silicones in Wacker's product portfolio, including products for construction, energy and electronics, coatings, textiles, medical technology, and the automotive industry. Elastic silicone moldings are used in the plastics industry and many other sectors. The silicone success story continues. Silicones are truly versatile products, and Wacker is not about to run out of ideas for new applications anytime soon.